All right. Welcome, welcome. Let's go, everybody. This is the ShareGroup Success Series webinar number 2. One was so good, we thought we'd do it again.
Yeah,
So
lucky-
we think
lucky you.
thank you. I think everybody's here because we made a credible and soon to be substantiated promise that we're going to give you 2 ways to get to 2 listings per month. And we're going to do more than that. We're going to give you 2 different ways to get the 2 listings. We're also giving you the data that you need to get there. So we're excited about that. I'm Tim Slavin. I'm CEO of the ShareGroup. Jared Rice, the founder. We are very lucky to be in this business with you. The cool thing about it is just looking back at the conversations we've had this past week, you hear about success stories and we play a small part in that. So I talked to a realtor in Chicago who had been loading up our names into Chime. He got a call in and landed his first $1 million listing without a cold call. That's pretty cool. Another thing that I heard about this week was somebody who was taking our data and loading it up into HomeBot to do direct outreach, but more passive approach. And those ways do work. So we will spend time on direct mail and other apps that are being successfully deployed with ShareGroup data. That will just be something we talk about, in a future conversation. So very cool. But today is about bringing 2 legends forward, people that have worked with ShareGroup a long time, pals of Jared's who've used our data, given us feedback on how to improve our performance for you as a partner in the business. And they're going to tell us exactly how they can get 2 and even more than 2 listings per month with some proven techniques. So that's cool. As always, goals for the webinar. We want to foster connection amongst this community. So the speakers are available for you to do outreach to if you want to chat with them. We want to encourage and enable builders to do more than they've done with the same or fewer resources. My one real hope today is that you find one thing that you can do immediately in your business that will make a difference in return on investment, return on time, so that you have a little bit more success than you had, just a week ago. So with that being said, our agenda. So we're going to chat with Blake Wallace, Kevin Schumacher. Hopefully you've heard about them because we promoted them heavily in the emails. We're going to talk about the background, their successes, their career, how they got where they are, and really give you some behind the scenes insight as to what it takes to perform as they have. And there's an incredible accomplishment about hundreds of homes being sold in a 90-day window that we're going to talk about today too. We want you to use the chat feature in Teams here so that you can ask your questions. We'll be happy to put those questions forward to the speakers today. And with that being said, I think I'm going to turn it over to Jared. Tell us how you met these guys and
what we expect. Yeah, let's not discount that I'm going to be joining you guys here today too. I think that's a beautiful bonus. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so when Tim said the introductions about Blake and Kevin, they are legends in this business and have been a part of the ShareGroup business for multiple years. Even I think I have their contact information in the Rolodex, or at least Kevin does on my desk, or on his desk. But no, so we're going to talk through what Tim had introduced. I mean, the best part about these webinars is for us to share the success and the hard work that everyone's doing. We know at the ShareGroup, our job is really easy, just getting you the data at the highest quality we can. But really that work starts when you guys start utilizing the data for your marketing application. So that's enough being said. I'm going to introduce Kevin Schumacher. Kevin's out of the Denver market. Yeah, Kevin, if you don't mind, I would love to have you join us, buddy.
Hey, appreciate you guys having me on, and hopefully can bring a lot of value. Obviously, our relationship with the ShareGroup has, as you mentioned, has been several years now. And it's definitely been foundational for us as far as really growing our business and taking it to the next level.
Awesome. 30 years as an agent. Did you start when you were 6, or how did you get into real estate?
Well, let's see, doing the math. So I started when I was 21. If my birthday's next week for those I would like to know.
Happy birthday.
But anyway, so I started when I was 21 in real estate, and it came out and was working with my business partner, which is my uncle at the time. We then was a Remax franchise owner. So growing up in that realm was really about building your sphere of influence. It was basically shaking hands, kissing babies. We were training agents all the time, how to grow the sphere of influence, but everyone always wanted more and wanted more. And so we always talked about the five primary pillars of lead generation: your open house, your sphere of influence, your Google ad pay-per-click, your expired FSBOs, and your farming. So it's like, how do we scale? So it's always really about that piece. And we really didn't have access to the data pieces. So fast forwarding as we got into lead, Google pay-per-click and so forth, it got really expensive. Then we got into seller home evaluations. It got saturated. So we really were just sort of hit and miss of trying different things and just continuing to try to grow our business and find something ultimately that was scalable.
Yeah. And speaking of scalable, I mean, when we started a couple of years ago, it was up that alley where you were able to sell 300 homes in 90 days, leveraging the ShareGroup data. It was a different market at that time, but also that's something that you were able to scale. You've always been successful as being part of that team, so I think that's a pretty neat metric to talk on.
Yeah, absolutely. So what had happened was in 2021, the market was pivoting, and in our market, I'm in Colorado, it was there's multiple offers on everything. So we were writing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 offers in hopes that you would get something for your client. So we pivoted and said, okay, we need to go where we have a little more certainty and predictability. So one of my business partners at the time, he mentioned that he was working with institutional buyers. So basically, we were finding off-market properties and then presenting that buy box. As long as they fit the criteria to the buy box, that buy box, we present it. Well, we were sitting there, we were trying postcards, we were trying door hangers, we were trying everything. And then I used a couple of the different dialer programs out there. They're probably the most popular ones out there, using their data. But the contact information, the accuracy is only about 36 to 38%. A good friend of mine introduced me to Jared and said, hey, you got to try these guys. And so we started out, we were about 74, 75. We got to over 80% accuracy as far as speaking to the right people. So when you're dialing and sending text messages, that accuracy is huge. And so what we were able to then do was, and this is really old school back when we started with Jared, is we literally had a big old map on this huge desk. And then we would draw out neighborhoods and then we'd say, okay, what about this? And then you would send it to us. So when you guys introduced your portal, months back, that's gold. But long story short is we were able to give the ShareGroup these areas and basically say, okay, this is all of the data we need for this entire city. And so they were able to give us the data, and then we just fired on all cylinders, and then we started scaling other markets, and it was pretty crazy.
And then you just got back from your vacation after all that success, and now we're in a reality where the market's a little different. So I would love for you, because what I love about you is with the highs and sometimes the lows, you're always counting on yourself to produce the revenue and the 2 extra listings a month that you're getting with the ShareGroup data. Maybe go to the next slide, Tim, and we can kind of talk about a little bit more of what you're doing now and the results that you're seeing too in today's market.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've been working on now is the absentee owner data. And so what we'll do is I'm using the Mojo dialer. It's a triple line dialer. So we'll upload all the data right in there. So I'm committed to doing 90 minutes a day for 3 to 4 days a week. So I'm typically hitting at least Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I try to get Mondays in. I'm calling between 1 o'clock and sort of that 1 to 3 window is where I'm having my highest connect ratio. And so out of every 300 dials, I'm speaking to between 15 to 18. I'm having 15 to 18 conversations. The conversation is qualified as I validated that I really did talk to the owner and that it was not the wrong number. And of those, we'll typically have anywhere from 1 to 3 appointments / callbacks, meaning, hey, I'd consider it. Can you call me in a week? Or can I need to talk to my wife, whatever may be. And then we'll get nurtures off of that as well.
Awesome. And so real quick, your approach, when you call, it's kind of a turn and burn mentality, right? Like you're not asking for the owner's name necessarily. You're just trying to verify that property on that street, not even necessarily the number of that property, right?
Exactly. Your data gives us the name, number, email address, and then also it has the property and then their mailing address. The only thing I reference is as simple as, hey, this is Kevin. I'm a local real estate agent. Was just calling to see if you've considered selling your property over on Toronto Street. And then I pause, and if they don't say anything, I said, here in 4 columns. And so I'm trying to localize it. Localizing it makes, just sort of breaks the ice a little bit.
I love that. And then I think we talked last week about this, but you've noticed through your patterns of consistency in calling, when's the best time to dial absentee owners in your market?
It's really that 1 to 3 range, but honestly, I got on the calls this morning, and I hopped on at 10:30, and I dialed for 39 minutes, and I picked up 2 prospects.
There you go. Yeah. So it just probably comes down to implementing the call and just getting it done. Right. Next slide, Tim, if you don't mind. Yeah, consistency. And this is kind of what Kevin talked about. This is the number he's committing to 3 times a week. Kevin's been a part of large teams and very successful in his real estate business for 30 years. Some of the people we talk to do this for 3 months, but still to this day, this is his grind. And with our data, these are the results that we're seeing. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I just say, if you, especially for new agents, if you commit 90 minutes a day, 3 days a week, you will build a nurture pipeline that's going to, and I'm happy to share later on, some of the things that we do in the nurture pipeline as well. But you will build a pipeline that will have a steady stream of deals that's going to get you that 2 to 3 listings a month.
Awesome. We just had a quick question before we switch over to Blake, but is there a time not to call? Probably during happy hour, during your morning run at 5 a.m. or what time do you not call?
I don't call first thing in the morning just because people are busy, whether it's getting kids out of school, whatever. And for my pay-per-click ads, I always call 11 to 1. But for whatever reason, that doesn't work for these. Typically, they're at lunch. They're with somebody else. They don't want to have the conversation. So again, I would stick to 2 to 11:30, 10 to 11:30, or I go 1 to 3, 1 to 4.
I love it. Well, we're gonna continue to talk with you when we'll pull you back in with Blake. But yeah, let's introduce Blake Wallace, if you don't mind. Thanks, Kevin. Man, that was awesome. So Blake has been a part of the TheShareGroup probably since about day one. I've been lucky enough to meet Kevin in person, and also because I lost a bet, I got to drive to Minneapolis in the winter and meet Blake. So Blake has been a huge advocate of our data in the Minneapolis area. So Blake, man, I appreciate you joining us, man.
No, man, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your real estate resume, buddy.
Absolutely. So I've been doing this. I've been selling houses for 17 years. I got my license. I was actually 19 when I got my license, but then I didn't start actually selling houses until a few years later. I got into the business. I was pretty naive. And then I ended up taking a job where I was selling gym memberships. And I actually learned about sales, and we were cold calling for that job of selling gym memberships.
Sure.
So the light bulb went off. I said, I could do this for my real estate business and probably be pretty successful. So I just went for it. And once I found you guys' information and the data that you guys provide, it's really been off to the races for like the past 5-6 years for me. So
I love that. Yeah, the commission's a little different than selling a $19.99 a month subscription versus $350,000. So no, I love that. Yeah. So tell us your daily plan of attack. Like, what is your grind? Because I think it's pretty neat too.
Actually, pretty similar to Kevin as I was listening to what he said too. The one thing about me is I don't call anybody before 10 a.m. That's really my stipulation. So between 10 and 1 is when I'm on the phone making contacts. And my biggest thing is a couple of books really changed the way that I did business and the way that I went after business. It was Go for No and High Probability Selling. And I can send the information out for those as well. But really, it was just getting used to my relationship with no, because as I was going through the years of cold calling, you tend to hear no more than, you hear a yes. Yeah. And what I started doing was calculating how many no's it would take for me to get to a yes. And that would be a motivator for me. So every day that I get on the phones, I look to get at least 10 no's on that day. And I know that as I get up to close to 100 no's, what I'll do is I can almost predict that I'm going to get a yes. And that yes is typically a nurture, right? That's somebody that I can keep in contact with over 3 months, 6 months to a year, and end up getting that business.
Yeah, that's awesome. It takes 100 no's at my house to get a yes too. What kind of data have you been having success with, and how important is it to have a couple of different niches in your tool belt?
Absolutely. For me, I've had the most success with absentees and downsizers, and that's in my market. So couple of different, when I'm here in the Twin Cities, I'm calling on absentee owners like Minneapolis, St. Paul. There's a huge number of absentee owners in those areas. And it's great for 2 reasons. Number one, you create your own inventory. And number 2, you almost can create your own MLS, right? Because we're in such a tight inventory market right now where you're making these phone calls, and even when you're working with a buyer, it's really easy to say, listen, I'm going to go in and make these calls and see if we can come up with an opportunity for you. And I've been able to do that a couple of times with some of my buyers. Downsizes are really great for kind of a more of a longer term nurture, but both of those lead sources have been, not only are they, I mean, they're really targeted. So it's better than just calling and blanketing a neighborhood full of phone calls, which is what I was doing in the beginning, like calling out of a phone book.
Right.
But you get people that are more likely to make a move, and you can develop a relationship with.
What does the follow-up look like from start to finish, with a list like the ShareGroup provides, absentee or downsize?
Yeah.
You said downsize, there's a longer nurture, but how many times are you poking the bear
For sure.
ringing the doorbell, or what's that look like?
So my goal is to get through each list 3 times, and typically I'll get about 1,000 or 1,500 leads at a time, right, before I start to refresh and get a new list. But it's really simple, man. I'll even share my script. It's the same for both, but really it's just I ID the caller, or ID the homeowner. So as I say, I was hoping to speak to the owner of 123 Main Street, please. And then before I even introduce myself, I would say, I'm not sure if it's for you, but I list and sell houses in whatever city that is, right, that it's in. Is that a service that you want? And they either say yes or no or maybe, right? Those are kind of the 3 deals that you get, and you can structure your questions and things that you'll ask after that. If somebody says no, I typically just let them go, because the next time that I call through that list, it may be a yes, right?
Maybe a yes. Yeah, exactly. You catch them at the right time. Yeah,
exactly. And my biggest thing is to be brief and be gone, right? That becomes my commercial, because
that's the state, man. That's a pretty good slogan. Yeah, that's how I go to the gym. I'm brief and I'm gone. No,
exactly.
But so when someone does tell you, go ahead, Blake. No, go ahead.
Because the thing really is that I'm not the only person calling these leads, right? There's a lot of different people you hear it on the phone all the time. I've been getting calls from a bunch of different agents. And so to be the one that's different and say, well, this guy didn't try to convince me to sell my house, right? That becomes something that where other people that are calling them kind of become an advertisement for you, because they're like, this guy was easy.
Yeah. No, I think that's a cool outlook, and I think that's refreshing, and like I said, that resonates really well with Drew and I were talking about that before when we read it. Like, be brief or be gone. But one more quick question, and then we'll pull Kevin in. Maybe the next slide too, Tim. But once you get a yes, how many times do you have to touch them? And maybe this talks a little bit about it in some of the resources you're doing.
Absolutely. So once I get a yes, typically it becomes a monthly follow-up deal or a quarterly follow-up deal, depending on when they say that they're going to be selling their house. Right? So if it's a 3 months down the line, I'll schedule with them to follow up monthly until they're ready. And then once we have another conversation, it's always a phone call. After the initial conversation, I'll send them a handwritten thank you note. Thank you for your time. Looking forward to speaking with you more about your plans. And then I'll follow up monthly with a phone call. And that call is simply, hey, it's Blake, Wallace Realty Group. I was just calling to see if anything changed since we last spoke. And then I just listen. I just let them run down what their plans are. So if anything changes, then I'll end up setting an appointment with them and go out to the house, do the valuation, do the whole deal.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, Kevin's been part of a team, most of his story. When we touched on this, when we talked briefly before, you're talking about, individually.
Yeah.
There's nothing really different about it, right? You're in control what your work is in, but you work better as yourself, right? And hold it in what you can manage and how you can dictate that outcome, right?
Absolutely. Well, my goal when I got my real estate license was to become my own independent broker. And so, I mean, eventually, of course, I'll look to a scale with getting an assistant and things like that. But right now I'm able to manage this. Why it's perfect that this is called, getting 2+ listings per month, because my goal is actually, I don't want any more than 2 listings per month, really. Right. Because that allows me to service my clients the way that I want to. And then I end up getting referrals.
Right.
So while I do that, then I can keep the communication going the way that I want it to be timely and service those listings the way that I do, because that's where the balance is. It's not necessarily work-life balance so much, but it's you want to make your calls, you want to service your clients, right?
I love that.
And once you narrow it down to those 2 things, it gets really, really simple. And then as I'm collecting, reviews and things like that, then I start getting those phone calls that say, hey, so-and-so said you sold their house and you were great to work with. Come list mine. So yeah, that's the click.
And think about that tree of touches of, maybe started from one list from the ShareGroup 4 years ago that's now turned into, 5 new relationships and, 10 plus listings. So I love it. Let's open up to some of the questions we have for you guys. Kevin, I'd love you to join. You're just a better looking version of me, but let's ask you, are you guys, optimistic and expecting to see more in 24 than 23? And do you have some thoughts behind that? Go ahead first, Blake.
Yes, absolutely. I've already outpaced what I was doing at this time last year based on that. And a lot of it was still from making the contacts, but a lot of the folks were still kind of on the fence about selling or what they wanted to do. So a lot of those people have come back around and put their homes on the market. So absolutely, I'll be doing more this year based on the contacts that I made last year, the relationships I built.
Yeah. And my experience in talking to, hundreds of agents, a week is, I think people are probably a little bit more at ease, even if the interest rate's higher now. It's been there for a minute. They've digested it. And there's, some variables that get in the way, time or just, having to move, just because of something else too. But Kevin, what are you expecting for the rest of 24?
Yeah, I mean, I think 2024 still is going to finish out strong. I think there's a lot of buildup of, you look at, they talk about the frozen inventory of people that are out there that aren't moving because they have a low interest rate. But I think there's a pent up amount of people out there that are getting pressure to make that move, meaning that they've been in their home that they've outgrown for 2 years. They've delayed and delayed waiting. And now with the way the market's going, the way the creativity in the mortgage companies, the buy downs, all these things, there's opportunities. So you just have to find the opportunities. I go back to, leverage the data, find your audience. Don't go after first time home buyers right now. That's, Blake talks about the downsizers. It's a great market. So be really clear on who is the most qualified buyer or seller, and then be very intentional. And then when you have the data, then it's just a matter of rinse and repeat. There's a book called Tell to Win, tell a story they can relate to with an outcome they desire.
I love that.
Have the message, create the win for them.
And you kind of jumped into the next question, teacher's pet, Kevin. What's your recommendation? We talk to every day, and I love it when I'm on the phone and I'm like, how long have you been an agent? I just started in February. I started in January. My dude Al Nazir started in August. But someone that has 3 decades of experience like you, Kevin, I mean, what's your best recommendation, for these guys that they're getting in at a time that is a little different,
Well, I think it's a great time to get in. We actually downsized our team when the market was the hottest because none of the agents wanted to work. And so those that are willing to roll their sleeves up now and do what many won't do will win. And so if I was a brand new agent getting in 12 months, 24 months, whatever, I mean, I'd be hammering the open houses, but also I'd be leveraging the data, because you can go ahead and call and say, hey, I'm having an open house. When you have the data, you have the number, you can email them, you can mail them. I mean, you have everything you need. You can do your follow-up calls, you can do door hangers, the absentee owners. There's a lot of great strategies, but when you have the data, there's options.
I love that. Blake, do you have anything else to add for our new agents out there that are ShareGroup supporters?
Absolutely. My recommendation would be, when you're new in the business, you have time. You may not have many clients. You may not be running around showing houses and things like that. So use that time to make direct contacts to homeowners in your market, and always be focusing on listings first, because your listings will bring you buyers. And so in that case, then what that means is you can either knock the door, you can make the calls, but you're going to have the time in the very beginning. So if you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs trying to figure out what to do, spend 2 to 3 hours a day contacting homeowners, and everything else will fall into place.
Dude, that's it, man. If you build it, they will come. And we're about a minute away till Tim and I wrap up with a couple minutes, but we will have a recording of this for you guys and be able to share that. The more success stories we can hear, the more we can share in this community. So you're going to see more resources we have. We're super lucky as the ShareGroup to have customers that are in the trenches, grinding daily. So Blake, Kevin, so much love, so much appreciation. I didn't know you guys coordinated to wear aqua blue today. Otherwise, I would have jumped in, dude, to match my eyes. But I didn't get the memo. But no, all jokes aside, thank you guys so much. We'll answer the rest of the questions here when Tim and I are done. If we miss any, you guys can reach us out. We always are trying to be accessible to you guys. But thanks again, Kevin and Blake. Much love, guys.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jared. So we do have some questions about cold calling and do not call list. So what we're definitely going to do is wrap up in a minute. And then if you don't mind sticking around, we'll take on some of those questions so everybody gets the full webinar in the 30 minutes. And then we'll do a little bit more Q&A if Blake and Kevin can hang around. We can take those topics on. So as Jared already mentioned, there's a lot of free resources on the website right now for you to take advantage of, including investor leads, sample records, scripts, everything you're looking for. You'll find it right there. As always, we're going to give you an incentive for participating. Everybody needs leads to drive their business. So there's a couple ways to do that. We now have a free leads section on our website. So if you check that out, you can get free leads for posting a review or for sharing a win that you have. And anybody who's in the webinar today, if you go in and make a wallet purchase, that means you spend $450. You normally get 2,500 leads. We're going to bump that up to 3,000 leads. That's just today only. The way that wallet works is you make your deposit and then you withdraw the leads every week as you work them. The reason why that's such a great idea is because instead of downloading 3,000 leads, maybe you'll not get to the back end of that list for 3 or 4 weeks. This means every phone number that we can update gets updated on a weekly basis. You're working the freshest data every week. You leave in the bank until you need that. You go away for a vacation, you come back, download the new leads that have been updated. You can experiment with different segments that we've talked about. You can experiment in different areas of your market. So it's a really flexible way that gives you also the best price. So we'd love to have you check that out. Our next webinar we've got, looking at May 9th. And this comes up so fast because we put a lot of time into making certain this is a great value for everybody who's there. But we're going to take on a new topic. It'll either be how to get a listing without cold calling or how to become the absentee owner expert in your market. We're going to take on those two topics and figure out which one's best for all of the TheShareGroup customers and prospects that are participating today. So we thank you very much. We'll wrap up. We're also going to go ahead and take on some of those questions if Blake and Kevin don't mind. We have some questions about whether you call records on the do not call list or not.
I can start there.
Sure.
Yes, I do. I know that a lot of people, they say that you should scrub your list and do things like that, but I just call the list. If anybody tells me to remove them from my list, then I'll let them know. I'll update my records and I delete that number from my dialer and I don't call them again. Actually, my dialer has a function where I can create my own do not call list, so I'll just add it to that. And no matter how many times I upload that lead into or that contact into, it won't ever hit them again. So I'm just calling the list. I'm just keeping it easy, and I download it and I get dialing. That's it.
Right on.
Yep. That's kind of the way we view it. We'll supply the most numbers we can. It's up to the advertiser, but Kevin, do you same thing?
Same thing. Yeah, we're same as Blake. We load it in, we dial it. If somebody says take me off, not a problem. Move on. So
okay, I'm going to expand the question. So somebody asked about sending out emails and how do you know they get delivered? So is email marketing a part of your approach? And if so, how do you use it?
For us, it is. So one of my business partners has actually been doing it for a little bit longer than us, but basically on the downsizer piece, what we'll do is we'll upload that into our CRM. We'll send out an email introducing them to our home eval piece, where it'll give them an instant home evaluation on their property because we have their address. So then they click on that. They have the instant home evaluation as a neighborhood snapshot of what the values look like in their neighborhood, anything recently sold, active, any of those things. That sort of warms it up a little bit. Then 3 to 5 days later, we'll send another email that says sort of the deal of the week. Here's the deal of the week. And then 3 to 5 days after that, we look and we can see who's read the emails and who hasn't. And then we'll start with calling those people first that have read it and opened it. And then it's really simple. Hey, Jared, this is Kevin, just following up. I'm the guy that's been sending you the information, wanted to make sure you're getting it, see how things are going. Have you considered selling? And it's a warmer conversation.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of moving parts with email, with the sending domain, the IP addresses. In today's day and age with the CRMs that allow that Chime, HomeBot, like your services that offer that high value call to action. Hey, here's what your home's worth. Here's what you can Airbnb it for. Here's what you can refinance for, whatever that is. is a great in. It's not going to ultimately convert to, the papers being signed, but it's a great tool to add to the business. And at the TheShareGroup, we do verify those emails before we put them on the record, so they're not stagnant or sitting around. We do run it through some hygiene and some verification.
Well, and keep in mind also that it's a volume play. Like it's all volume. It's volume calls, it's volume email. I mean, this isn't a buy 100 leads and sort of hope. I mean, you want to think volume because that's how you're going to build your pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Amen, Kevrock. Any other questions, Tim?
I do some email as well, but it's a lot like what Kevin does, but it's after I made the contact already.
Yeah.
And so I'll send like a stick email is what I call it, which just explains to them what they're going to be receiving from me. And then I'll set them up. I actually use Cloud CMA, and they have a thing called Homebeat, which sends comps once a month over, and then they can click a button that'll say that they want their home valuation. And typically when I get those a couple of times a month, that's a really hot lead, and I can follow up with them and see. I say, hey, I saw that you wanted a valuation. Sounds like, has anything changed since we last spoke? And we get to going from there.
You guys are really resonating with the group because even though we went past the half hour, we've only lost a couple of folks. And so there is, so good job. Here's another question. How long have you been tracking your metrics with the TheShareGroup data? That's from our chat.
I would say from day one. Jared, when do we first start working together?
I think it's like 2020. Yeah, it's like 18, 19. I mean, it was pre-pandemic, Drew and Tim. So yeah, you're one of the OGs for sure.
And I would say from then, I've pretty much exclusively used your leads for the cold calling that I do. I mean, I was using another vendor before that, but it was more of kind of calling through the yellow pages almost, right? Calling through the phone book. I mean, so this, by being able to have a more targeted approach, I've been able to really get some good numbers from that and understanding my numbers based on what you guys provide.
And if you check out the lead calculator and the conversions, I mean, they're from real numbers like we have Andy Schurer that calls a lot. Kevin shared a lot of his metrics. So we're trying to give you the best snapshot of what is what's involved in buying 1,500 records to getting to 4 listings, and so we want to be as transparent as possible. We want to support and offer as much experts, an expert panel like we have today. I like the term legends, as Tim can use. Definitely lucky to have you guys.
Yeah, we're definitely off script here, but because Jared mentioned it, there's another free lead opportunity. Let's put that away. But there are 2 calculators. One is how many leads do I need based upon how many listings that I want to get per month. So that's pretty cool. Allows you to input your own conversion and figure out how many. The other calculator is dials to listings. So how many dials do I need in order to achieve a specific number of listings in a month? So, and you get to put in your own. So you say, how many dials, how many days am I going to call? And how many dials am I going to make each day? And then what's the average gross commission? And then we're going to actually tell you how much that you make per cold call.
Yeah.
So you get paid every time you make a call, regardless of what happens, right? Some will, some won't. What, Blake?
Some will, some won't. Who cares? Someone's waiting.
And to reiterate these results and the metrics within those. Awesome job, dudes! What a great webinar number 2. I'll just wear teal for the rest of the week just to be hang out with you guys.
Just to be sure, man. You never know.
Yeah, I know. From now on. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah. Bye, guys.